So my name is Randi Weingarten, and I am the president of the American Federation of Teachers. And I am delighted that I was in Rochester and that I, too, can stand. And, you know, I saw some of the tweets from Spencerport after the tests were given, and I also read with, I'm not even sure I know what word to say, with just tremendous shock, what the principal of PS 321 in Park Slope, Brooklyn, wrote about the tests. Now, 321 was my neighborhood public school when I was living in Park Slope for 25 years, when I was the president, and part of the time I was the president of the New York City local, and part of the time when I taught at Clara Barton High School in Brooklyn, New York. And like some of our speakers have said, I taught high school. Our Regents exams, which were high-stakes assessments for children, which we did all the things that that both of your amazing speakers have said before, that they were about what do you do with the test afterwards, how do you use it, how do you talk to your colleagues, how do you talk to kids. For the kids who failed the tests in the June months, how do you work with them for the summer to actually help them pass those tests? We had a very different culture, as I think Robert was saying, before Pearson. Right? Yeah. Very different culture. And so when I saw what Liz wrote, which is exactly what Marie and Robert were saying, I said, something's wrong with this. Something's really wrong that for 2 years, at the period of time when the state of New York and other places, and look, I happen to think that the Common Core has potential, but when they said this is the most important thing that we could ever do for students ever in the history of the United States, from like 0 BC to 10 million times AD, right? Isn't that kind of sort of what they said? Maybe exaggerating a little bit, right? But not much. Then what happens is if you say that, but you don't give teachers or parents any time to really prepare, and then you make the tests so confidential, and you force people to sign gag orders, and you make test security tantamount to test secrecy, then how does anybody think this is on the level? That this is anything but gotcha. Gotcha to the kids, gotcha to the teachers, gotcha to the administrators, gotcha to the districts. And that's why, separate and apart from the issue about the role of testing, this notion of if these tests really matter, then we have an obligation to our kids and to our parents to see those tests and use them to have the data to help kids in real time. That is our obligation. That should be the state of New York's obligation, and it should have negotiated a contract with Pearson to enable that to happen. But instead, the opposite has happened. And so, my friends, we're not just standing with Spencerport. We actually went to the Pearson shareholder meeting on April 25th. I sent my director of staff across the pond to actually read a letter to the Pearson Board of Directors to say, stop these gag orders. And 17,000 people signed that petition. Now, we asked them, we said, Pearson, because of course they sent me back a very nice letter saying, oh no, we think it's really important for teachers to have this information. I'm like, okay, that's very nice. Tell that to the stakeholders. don't just send me a letter. Tell that to stakeholders. I am demanding that before this school year ends, you meet with a group of stakeholders, not just me, from New York State, and hear for yourself what is going on in this state in terms of the test security and the gag orders and the stifling of education in this state. So, you are the first people I am reporting to. Pearson decided they would meet with me. And I had a nice little meeting with them in my office. And I said, so I took my calendar out and I said, when is the meeting with the stakeholders? And they said to me, well, we'll meet if we don't actually talk about New York State. To which I said, you have a high-stakes test here. You either decide to meet with stakeholders who can ask you any question, or I'm going to tell every stakeholder in the state of New York that Pearson not only has gag orders, not only refuses to work with teachers, but they won't even meet with teachers and parents and district employees and districts all across the state to actually even say why they do what they do. And I am here to report to you that Pearson will not meet with us under those conditions before the end of this school year. Now, you know what that means, and I know what that means. It means every time that Pearson comes out and says they want to work with teachers, you remember what I just said. If you want to work with teachers, you have to actually meet with teachers. If you want to work with parents, you have to actually meet with parents. If you want to make money off of kids, you actually have to solve the problems that we raise. Thank you, Spencerport, for raising these issues full on, and we at the AFT will take this over and over again to any shareholder meeting, any meeting with Pearson, any meeting with the state, to basically say, stop these gag orders.